Welcome to another episode of Healing is Gangsta. I'm registered mental health professional Taje. I'm also a marriage and family therapist. And to my right, I have another legend.
What up?
Yeah, y'all know him very well. If y'all have ever tuned in to the battle rap scenes, this is one of the GOATs in the industry. You know what I'm saying? We got Dizaster in the building.
He ain't lying.
Yeah, nah, I ain't. That's real talk. You know, and thanks for coming.
I appreciate you, man. I love this show.
Yeah, nah, I've been really looking forward to having you come through. I know we've been talking a minute about getting you over here. And
yeah, man. It's good we finally worked it out.
Yeah, nah, and I mean the reason why I was so kind of excited to have you up here, not just because of, you know, the things you've accomplished and stuff like that, but just because we've had a lot of talks over the years, you know, like deep conversations.
Right, the type like you would have like right here type.
Yeah,
of shit, yeah.
You know, that had nothing really to do with, you know, like the music industry and things like that. Like we really talked about like life stuff. Yeah, and I feel like not enough of that has been promoted about you. Like how passionate you are about certain things and how deep some of the things that you deal with go. You know what I mean? So I was really looking forward to you being gracious enough to kind of show some of that, you know, because everybody knows who you are right now. You know, they know Dizaster, or they have some kind of picture of what Dizaster is, you know.
Yeah. Everybody got their, like, I feel like, not to cut you off,
Yeah,
but
no,
everybody got their like own version in their head of who you are, and you really not you. Like, you never really get to show people who you are because people create this whole version of you in their head, and every person out there has like you the asshole in somebody's story.
Absolutely.
You the good guy in somebody's story. Yeah. But it's always like that. You know what I'm saying? Battle rap is a crazy place like that. So, you know, it's hard to really get people to see you for who you are, really, for anybody. It would be difficult for any battle rapper. I think that's one of the things we face, and we're not open about our shit. Like,
yeah,
like this type of show, I feel like allows you to be like that. Like the vibe you set and the questions you ask and the way, you know, you understand too, like it's a lot of real life shit that comes with it. That's the stuff we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
And I think it's good. Like, I don't know how many battle rappers would be down to just, you know, talk about because, like, you know, we use this shit as content in battle rap. You know what I mean? So you get used to, as a battle rapper, not sharing shit and bottling it all.
Yeah. And that's similar to, you know, which I'm sure you know about this angle of it too, is just being in the neighborhood, you know, like showing emotion or showing these types of things can be considered weakness. Yeah. You know what I mean?
100%. It's the same shit because you in a field where people are so talented, you know what I'm saying? They can use a good thing against you. Mm-hmm. So, like, imagine if it's something that's like you venting about an emotional issue.
Right.
Like, people could use against you, like, oh, you a doctor?
Right.
Oh,
absolutely.
check this out. Like, it don't even matter.
Right.
Like, you could be super successful. Oh, you got a plaque on your wall. Well, you probably like this. Like, it don't even matter in battle rap. Like, the nicest thing about you could be turned into like a crazy thing.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, one thing I've always admired about you, though, you've always been kind of outspoken about.
Yeah, I'm a bit outspoken. I try to lay back more on that because people are way more tense these days.
Yeah,
the atmosphere ain't like it was for us. Hip hop for us growing up out here, especially in the late 2000s and the late 90s and the early 2000s.
Absolutely,
I feel like it's a whole different atmosphere now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know, I want the viewers to know just how big this is because a person of your stature in that scene, you know, you've gotten praises from people that are top of the game, the Drakes, the Eminem. You've been in movies that Eminem has done, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, I really want people to understand how big this is because, like you said, you know, kind of exposing some of yourself, you know, coming from an industry where they use that against you. Like you said, this is big. So, you know,
kind of become like a plain sheet of paper after a while. And then people make their, I feel like I've heard this saying before, like if you don't tell your story, somebody else will tell it for you.
That's some of the smartest shit right there.
Right? Like, and I just feel like it's one of those in battle rap where a lot of people in battle rap are misunderstood because they never really tell their story.
Right.
So other people will tell it, and the fans really believe that shit. Like they'd be like, if they hear it enough, that's what it is. Right. Then it'd be hard for you to tell them the truth because then they think the truth ain't real.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here to do is to talk about your truth, and like I said, everybody knows kind of what they see about Dizaster and what they might read, and we'll show highlights on the show as far as some of the things you've done. But I think the thing that I think that they're really curious, especially the diehard Dizaster fans, right? It's like what went into the making of Dizaster the person. Like I think one thing that I'm curious to know is the stuff before the battle rapping stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for people that don't know, you come from a pretty like crazy background that spans the whole world. You know what I mean? So you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Pre-battle rap really is Lebanon. Like before I was born here. But then the war ended in Lebanon, so the civil war started. That's how my family ended up out here. I'm first generation out here. You know what I'm saying? My family immigrated here. Mm-hmm. My dad, he had to go because there was a civil war going on, and everything just got fucking fucked up for like 20 years straight. Yeah. So by the time I was like 7 or 8 years old, we went back there. Yeah, man. And I guess a lot of the things that made and I look at psychology as a crazy thing because it goes into depths of understanding like what a lot of this shit is. And I've recently been indulging in a lot of these different like analyzations of behavioral patterns and things that could seem like they're okay, but they turn out to be repressed fucking memories and crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
So like I really never thought I had trauma, like, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is I do. You know what I mean? And it's crazy when you realize it. It's
that can be a traumatic experience
because you normalize this shit. So like it took me a minute to understand it, right? So when you're a child, right? You see, like growing up in poverty is like a very, very serious thing for anybody. And I didn't grow up in poverty. I didn't. It was a third world country and we had food, but the thing is when you're a kid, you're not thinking of any of that. Your parents are going to get you food every day. You're going to have your food and you're going to have your house over your head. So what you think about when you're a kid is like playing and like electricity. Like, so we had like 2 hours of electricity a day. So that meant video games were pretty much non-existent in our life. We used to play video games for like an hour here and there. And I remember like one of the things that's really crazy that I was just reminiscing on recently was just how violent we would get over the controller. Me, my cousins, my brother, everybody.
So it was one controller.
Whether it's one or two controllers, it's because we know the electricity's about to go.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So you said you had electricity for 2 hours.
Yeah, then you get like this motor that comes on, but like the motor can't even fucking like take more than the fridge and like a couple of things on, like, and it just clicks off. You can't really run it. It's very minimal. It was like candlelight and shit like that. So we just played soccer all day and we just had a really fucking crazy, like we weren't able to access. So I would watch shit on TV, like, and I would see like everybody had action figures and crazy ass things. And we had like whack shit, like those little army plastic things. And that's all we got. And like, we couldn't get shit, bro. And it was like really fucked up, like Air Force Ones or like Air Maxes. I remember the Air Maxes. We got some weird shit. I don't know what the fuck it was. But when we first seen the Air Max for the fucking first time in our life, it was like, this is real American shit. Like, it was crazy to me because we just wanted to grab the culture so bad, but all we had was like fake shit and we were just limited to everything. Even the cereal was fake. It didn't even have fucking real milk. It was powdered milk. So there's no milk in the stores. It was just powdered milk that you got. So our cereal, it didn't even taste like cereal. I was just an angry fucking kid. Yeah. I just couldn't do shit that I wanted to do. Like what I do remember is how much I hated Lebanon when I lived there and how bad I wanted to be in America.
We'll talk about some of the atmosphere. Like what was day to day like for somebody living there?
So
at that time when all that was going on. So
even though the war ended, right, our lives were really fucking minimal, right? And it was just a lot of tension at the time. And then it was just a lot of fucking bombing and random fucking shooting shit and car bombs constantly happening. And then it was one of these moments that, like, again, I thought back on. And I knew this shit fucked with me because it fucked with my hearing for like 3 months. seeing an Apache fly over your fucking building and then fly to the buildings next to you and rubble one of them in front of you, the sound of that and so I'm really going to get into this, you know what I'm saying? I was sitting on the fucking balcony with my babysitter. Both my parents worked, you know what I'm saying? So I was at home and we were on the balcony and the helicopter passed and I remember it was just so fucking low and it was already shooting shit, like hitting shit, but not bombs, right? It was just busting like a cannon.
Yeah.
And like it was just getting crazy. So we just went inside just a little bit, like, but we could still see over the balcony. And I just remember, because I was young, man, I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I remember seeing it just hover above this building. And then this is the feeling that never left me, bro. When the building exploded, in my brain, I could hear kids screaming, but I never seen them or heard them. It's just, I knew, like my heart just went, like, because I just remember knowing that like kids like me, like I wasn't thinking of adults. You know what I'm saying? I just remember like thinking like some little girls and boys died, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I remember the blast was so loud, it cracked the fucking glass. It was just so fucking nuts. I lived on this area, it's called Mafra Hayy Salam, right? And it's an area called Taje right here, and there's an area called Shwaifet right here, and I lived right there in the middle, you know what I'm saying, in Shwaifet. And just so much shit happened, like from just that to, we just had like such a crazy upbringing. Like we would go out into the street all night, and we didn't have like where we were playing with shit inside the house all day. It was, you'd go outside and you'd come back at night when the sun came down. So we just were playing soccer in the street and getting into trouble, you know what I'm saying? I fought an undercover cop when I was out there. And I was a kid. I got into a fucking huge fight with a fucking cop. I was wearing metal cleats, fucked him up. He brought some soldiers. They stomped me out. My mom came there. It was the craziest shit ever. My grandfather got involved because it turned out
Lucky you got out of that.
Yeah,
one
like
alive.
my grandfather got me out of this situation, because in Lebanon, we have that type of thing where like if you know somebody out there, it's like, yeah, he's good.
Right.
That's what made where I grew up so crazy, because someone would shoot you and be like, all right. And then that's really where I grew up. There was no real, oh, everybody's equal. Like, you can't get away with shit. Like, people could get away with doing some shit to you out there because they just make the right phone call. And so it was definitely a different world. Then to add on to it, the good part was that amidst all this shit happening, I was in a school, right? It's an international school. So all the schools that we were in, which could explain why I'm an international battler more than anybody, were kids from all over the fucking world. I never grew up in a school like kids out here. You know what I'm saying? Like how you grew up with all Americans.
Yeah.
And most people in Lebanon grew up with all Lebanese people.
Okay.
But the schools we went to, it was called American system, right? So some schools would have it.
It sounds very like, I mean, I can relate to that in the sense of just being ready for anything at any time. It seems like, you know, again, things that we go through in the ghetto, but over there in that third world country, again,
I flocked towards gangsters when I got here because it was all the most similar shit. Like I started hanging out with like Crips and Bloods because I immediately started telling them what was going on with me, and they was like, "Oh shit!" Like, because I came here straight, and just being fresh from over there, it's different for people to hear that story because they didn't know at the time shit like this existed, bro. We were fucking nuts. Like, as Lebanese kids, like, it's hard for me to explain to the rest of the world how dysfunctional this country is. It's the most dysfunctional fucking country on earth, bro. And I don't know how it still runs. It's not even running. There's no more government. There's nothing. We have no electricity, no water, no gas, nothing, and it's still running.
Before you even touch down here, though, like, when you think about that time as an adult now, right? Like, if you could take yourself back for a second, because a lot of the things we deal with out here in the hood are, you know, anxiety symptoms, being, you know, higher heart rate, things like that, hypertension, things like that, because we're always paranoid. We're always, you know, ready for the bullshit.
We have the highest cancer rates and shit like that in the world in Lebanon.
Do you remember, like, consciously when you think back, like, as you're walking down the street as a little kid, thinking like always ready for a blast or a bomb or something like that? It wasn't
always that, because I used to like I'm from the mountains, so like I would spend a lot of time up there where it's away from everything, you know what I'm saying? And in the city it didn't always feel like that, but it was peaceful for the most part. But when shit popped off, it's kind of like shit would fucking pop off, bro. People would fucking get killed everywhere. There'll be like little mini wars and then they stop. Yeah. And it never really fully stopped. They murdered our prime minister in front of us, blew him up into a fucking million pieces. I was a kid when this happened too, so like I was actually older when this happened, like a little bit, like not even that much. It was like in the early 2000s when it happened. And it's just fucking nuts. We were building the country and we had like this billionaire prime minister for the first time ever. And they blocked him off. Like Lebanon's so crazy, bro. Like when you look back on presidents in America, how they got assassinated, they all got shot. Like, you know what I'm saying? They got these motherfuckers in Lebanon, bro. Like they pretty much came to the fucking street he was gonna be on the day before. Fucking filled up the street underneath it with fucking with explosives. Then blocked him off with his motorcade from both sides with 2 trucks full of explosives and blew the whole entire block into smithereens. Like I'm talking about a crater. I forgot how big this crater is, bro. It was like 15, 20 feet deep. I seen the crater. Like it was, like when you look at it, you like what part of the world, and there is a lot of parts in the world that are like that, but the way we experience this shit in Lebanon, and it's a religious thing too, so it's all like, we have this thing like how the gang society is. Like it's the same shit. Like you all know each other, you recognize each other. You hear a motherfucker talking. As soon as you hear him talking, if you ask him his name, you know where he's from. If you know where he's from, you know his religion and you know what set he's backing, which technically is a militia. There's no, it's not a street gang. Yeah. It's a militia that backs it. They got a flag. Yeah. They throw up signs type of shit. Like it's the same shit, bro.
So I mean, it sounds like, because any kid at that age to see those types of things.
We're segregated like it is in jail, but in real life over there. Muslims, Christians, everyone just has to like take their own section, and we solved that situation. There was a treaty amongst it, but then it's still happening in the background. And there's still a lot of just tension, and people just die out of nowhere, and you know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. Like as far as like your story's concerned, you came here traumatized. Like
I didn't think I was.
Well, that's the thing.
That's what's crazy.
The reason why it's like that is because we tend to disassociate from it. That's how our brain deals with it. It'll normalize it to us, to where now we're feeling the trauma, but we don't know we're feeling
Here's
the
the fact. There was a couple of weeks, I remember, it was around 1999. There was a war between Hezbollah and Israel.
Yeah.
And there was just mad shit going on. And I just remember this one night, bro, like, there was so much fucking machine gun fire that was going on and shit that we slept and had to just sleep to it. Like it got to the point where it was like we're just like,
yeah,
and we just listened to it all night, and you just went to sleep. Like that's not normal. That actually, nothing about that is normal to think about it. Like you're listening to thousands of machine guns go off in the distance, and you just gotta go to bed.
I mean, hearing people, how you describe hearing people scream and things like that.
That was in my head.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that's trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you just reminded me of something else.
That's trauma, and to be that young and to have those kinds of imprints on a brain that is not old enough.
You're right.
To reconcile those things as an adult would. You know
that's
what I mean?
What it is ultimately. And you know what? Images. It just reminded me of a whole other thing. In my battle with Arsenal on King of the Dot, I tell him. I had this whole scheme where I was explaining to him the difference between the hood life out here and out there. And I was trying to say how much more fucking bad it is out there. But one part I got to was trying to explain to him how much fucked up shit I've seen. And I said something in one of my bars. I said, do you know what it feels like to be like barely reaching the peak of your height and still given an M16 and told to go join the regime and go fight? And there was a part where I said, now when I wrote that, I just was like, you know, I wasn't making that up, first of all. Yeah. It was something that I seen. Yeah. But I casually wrote it, right? Until I started remembering how I saw it. It was in the newspaper out there. And I remember this fucking picture bugged me so much because out there they just showed it on the front page. It wasn't like out here how they went. They showed this guy on the front page screaming up to like God, like he's crying and he's holding his wife and half of her is missing, bro. Like it's the most insane shit. And they put that like front page.
Yeah.
I realized that because I remembered that 13 years later and brought it up in a battle that I somehow traumatized by.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I just thought I'm rapping about a picture in my head, I really don't think I was rapping about a picture. I think those type of things do fuck with you.
Yeah,
and they do make you a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
And like when you write it out and you're able to hear yourself say it or look at it when you're writing it, that's your mind processing that trauma. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that we try to do, you know, that I try to do as clinicians is get people to consciously do that. You get what I'm saying? Because when you can consciously process things, you can mediate it in your mind as to how it pertains to your life now. You know what I mean? So now I can imagine you being traumatized as a young kid. I can imagine your family was also traumatized by that in their own individual ways or whatever.
My dad and my mom. My mom maybe a little bit. My dad was like used to war. Like our older generation doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Oh, but they're traumatized.
They're maybe that's what they're desensitized.
Yes.
Like they just don't give a shit. Yes. Like they really don't. I mean, like in 2008, me and my dad, I had to like escort my fucking dad out of fucking Lebanon through Syria, through Jordan, under fucking crazy fire and all types of. This was when we were older, actually. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like 20-something years old when this happened. And my dad didn't give a fuck. He was about to go by himself. I'm like, you're not going by yourself. Like in a cab into like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're not going by yourself. Right. So I had to leave with him. And it was crazy. We left my mom and brother behind, and they ended up taking like a flight way later, but we had to leave, and it was just crazy because everything got locked down and the airport got bombed.
You know,
they bombed the international airport, bro, while I was there. Like, imagine, that's another thing. Imagine being a citizen of a country. Like, imagine as an American looking on TV and seeing LAX get bombed. I'm talking about bombed by planes, not like a bomb going off in LAX. I'm talking about a plane hitting it. Yeah, booka, 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 3 times, right. Like three explosions across the fucking airport. Yeah, that's crazy. Airport done. Nobody doing shit about it anymore. Like, and they don't even give a fuck. Airport's closed for like fucking couple weeks. Yeah. Or like a month or however long it was closed.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, for you guys collectively to experience these things, I wonder, especially when you guys made the trip back, because when you make the trip back, obviously there's a bit of a culture clash, culture shock at some point.
For me?
Right? I mean,
going back there or here?
I mean, just coming back here with the trauma that you guys endured.
It was so bad, bro.
So I'm wondering like, because it's telling when you say like, oh, well, your mom felt it, but your dad was desensitized. Or it
you like, could tell my mom was worried and scared a little bit, but my dad didn't give a shit.
Did that affect, do you feel, looking back at that now as an adult, do you feel that affected how you guys got along as a family or communicated with each other, or just how you grew up out here?
Nah, but like, I mean, we've always been like an aggressive family. Like, like we're kind of dysfunctional. I mean, I love my family. We all love each other, but it's like super dysfunctional, bro. It's always been that way. Like, it's just yelling, screaming, and just, you know, I don't know what that comes from. I think it's because we're Lebanese. I think a lot of Lebanese family, we're hot-blooded motherfuckers. I think it runs in my mom's family for sure. You know, and that's another thing. Like when you when you see in the hood, like you see young guys that see older dudes go on missions and drive-bys and come back, and they see that, and like when you young, that looked different than how it looks now. When you young, that looks like amazing shit. Yeah. Like you get like that's. It impresses you. Like we had dudes like that in our family. I had one main guy like that on my mom's side of the family, but he was invincible from the government. You know what I'm saying? So like he used to just clap shit out and nobody could do nothing to him. So like to me, like that type of shit started becoming like, yeah, that's the shit right here. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like through those experiences, because everybody,
I think that made me aggressive because he was like the cool guy in the family, and everybody fucking looked up to him. So that made me, like, it made a lot of us like that. I feel like that affects.
That's what I'm saying. When you're in a family unit, you know what affects one affects all of them.
But my dad's side of the family, they're all like the nicest people ever. Like and both sides of my family are rhymers, right? They dope. Rhyme in Arabic, and they've been doing it forever. It's like they do like freestyle competitions, but they make fun of each other with rhymes, and they just compete like that. But there's no like beat, but sometimes they do like a tum 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 tum, like whatever, little clap or some shit. Right. And it's crazy because it goes all the way back to the 1700s, and it's in both sides of my family, bro. They all rhyme. So like for me to be the first one that's born in America out of the whole entire family from both sides, I'm the first one to leave there. I become a rapper. That's some crazy shit. Like for me.
But the artistic side seems to run in your family, and I wonder if that was a way. And you can maybe say if I'm right or wrong about this. I wonder if that played a part into how you might have dealt with your trauma, how they might have dealt with their trauma through the artistic.
Yeah, it was an outlet. First, it was soccer for me, bro. Like, and I was like a serious player. People could tell now because I picked it back up, and I'm already ruthless as shit. But like when I was younger, I was signed to like a major club in the country. It's called Safa, right? It's one of the top 3 clubs in the country. It would be the equivalent of being signed to like Barcelona if I was in Spain. And then I got to practice with the national team like 3 times, and I was pretty much gonna get drafted. Wow, like I was a crazy ass fucking kid, but I wanted to rap. And I wanted to go to America, and I didn't want to do that shit no more. I wanted to come back here and rap. This is all that was going on in my mind.
So when you came back out here,
I started looking for people to battle. Like in the street, like I was just like, who wants to rap? Like first it wasn't necessarily battle because I was still scared.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm in America. These are the real deal here. Like to me, I was still like, I didn't feel authentic. I felt like an Arab kid, and I'm here now with the real rappers. Like, especially when I had people in my head back home saying, bro, what are you doing? Like, you're not that. Like, they was telling me, like, you're not that. Like, you are you going to become a lawyer or a doctor? You know, we have, like, the same shit as, like, Asian culture, like Korean culture, Chinese. Like, what's up? Like, your brothers are doctors. Like, this guy, your uncle is this. Your cousins are over here. What are you doing? We have that culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just be like, yeah, I'm a go to America and follow a dream to rap. And keep in mind, in my head, I was like, I'm going to become the biggest battle rapper ever. Battle rap going to be a big thing one day. Like, I was absolutely delusional to think this shit, Taje. You gotta know. Not really, but looking back at the time,
at that time it was
for me to even assume, like, bro, I had this dream of battle rap being something, and I foreseen it the same way maybe they saw the gold rush or how the internet was gonna come. There was people that foresaw that. They was talking about the internet before it came because they were able to know gradually where things were gonna go. I kind of felt like that about battle rap. I remember KRS-One dissing MC Shan, all that shit that was going on. Kumo D, Busy B shit. Like, that shit was like, for me, I just saw something, and in my head, I thought it was going to keep going. And then I remember the HBO Blaze battles with KRS-One, and shit just started. There was the Rap Olympics, and you started seeing, like, I knew, like, I was like, yeah, this is probably going to become something one day. So in my head, I was like, I'm going to be the best in the world at this. Keep in mind, I don't want to stray too far off. One of my friends was like, you hear this guy? This is cannabis. You will never be like this guy. You could never.
We'll get to that in a second.
Never.
Yeah.
You might as well give up. Yeah. You're a fucking Arab kid from Lebanon.
L-I-N-G is G-A-N-G-S